the oil makes a big mistake. They think Misha Nichnas Adamar with Simcha goes until Purim, and then they're on to other things. Misha Nichnas Adamar with the Simcha, the Rashi, the Masechta Tainis, where it says Misha Nichnas Adamar Kashem Shemin Misha Nichnas Adamar B'Simcha Kav Misha Nichnas Av Mamatim B'Simcha. So Rashi says Misha Nichnas Adamar B'Simcha is because you may Nisim Heim Li Yisrael Gefer Loshen Purim u Pesach, which is Mavur in Rashi that the Simcha of Misha Nichnas Adamar B'Simcha is because of Yimei Nisim Li Yisrael, and that continues till after Pesach. So the Simcha of the Zmanim is continues, and the whole spirit of the Zmanim continues. And one of the things that's unique about this Tkufa, more than even Yerech HaYesanim, is that it's saturated with many mitzvahs and many different halachas that you don't find. In Sukkot you have the Alminim and you have Sukkot. Here you have a ganze Purim is Moli mitzvahs, Pesach is Moli mitzvahs, Matzah, Mor, even Charoises could be as a mitzvah. So many mitzvahs that we have, and it's important that a person should know at least some basic halachas. And I'm not here to give al regel achas. There's hamoine halachas. I'm just here to give a few things that are a little bit of an awareness that we could just hook into at appropriate times. And I'm gonna say a couple of things about Erev Pesach, a few things. One thing about the Leil HaSeder, and Be'ikar, my pet project, which I love to talk about, is Hilchos Chol HaMoed. That's something that's underappreciated, and very, very little effort is put into it. Hagam, it's a very, maybe the most time of Yom Tov that we spend is Chol HaMoed, and there's a huge amount of halachas, Hilchos Chol HaMoed, and they're very severe. And I think that it's important that we should get some kind of, at least an awareness of Hilchos Chol HaMoed. But let's start with Erev Pesach. Erev Pesach with the Zman by Chatzos is already the Zman of Shchitas Karban Pesach, and therefore the halacha is that we treat it as a miktsas Yom Tov, and we abstain from malacha on Erev Pesach as if it would be Chol HaMoed. Therefore, even though the chaymer of Chol HaMoed doesn't exist, and we'll see certain leniencies, but when Chatzos comes on Erev Pesach, a person should not take a haircut, a person should not cut their nails, they should also not engage in mischar, in avodah. If a person has a job, they should try as best as they could, as if it's Chol HaMoed, to try to stay away as much as is possible from work. And it also goes into that gather of Ein Roya Simma Bracha. If a person does malacha when he's not supposed to, it's Ein Roya Simma Bracha La'olam. So if you have to, then obviously you have to. There are heterim, but a person should treat it with the chaymer of Hilchos Chol HaMoed. What should a person do? And this is something to keep in mind, because Erev Pesach gets very busy in the morning, and then sometime between the fire and Chatzos, you have to fit in cutting nails and shaving and the like. If a person went over Chatzos and they didn't shave or they didn't cut their nails, so it's more kal than Chol HaMoed, and it's mutter to cut your nails. B'diavad, it's mutter to cut your nails, rather than to go into Yom Tov with long nails. You should cut your nails on if the Chatzos, you could do it. Regarding a haircut is a little more severe, so it says, the Mishnah Berurah brings down, and it's really in Shulchan Aruch brought, that you could go to a goy. So you could go to a goy for a haircut, rather than, you can't do it for yourself, but you could go to a goyish barber. You should not use the goyish barber services, obviously, for negei shaving, unless you want to give him your Norelco, that he should do the job for you, that you could ask a goy, but you shouldn't use a goy you should use a goy for Taspoiris on Erev Pesach, if the Chatzos, if necessary, and nail cutting also. Now, I'm going to move on to something b'negeya the Seder. There is a halacha like this. There's a halacha in Siman Samach and Orach Chaim that we know that mitzvahs tzrichas kavana. There's a machlokes of mitzvahs need kavana, mitzvahs don't need kavana. Now, this doesn't mean the type of kavana of Krishma, that you have to have mimachavim for Pirush HaMilus and Pasuk Rishon to understand what you're saying. It's not that type of kavana. The type of kavana you have to have, and this is unanimous in all situations, that a person l'chatchila should, when you do a mitzvah, you have to say, okay, I'm obligated to do this act. I'm obligated to light Neiros Chanukah, to do this achilas matzah. I am being mechaven with this act. I'm going to pata my chiv. I'm doing my obligation. I have to eat maror. I'm eating my chiv of maror. I'm being mekayim with this. Whatever it is, whether it's the rice or the rabbanon, I'm doing it lotzeis hamitzvah. Now there is a machlokes if that's ma'akiv. If let's say you bench and you weren't mechaven to be yoytze the mitzvah berachas hamazon, were you yoytze berachas hamazon or not? And that's a machlokes in Siman Samach, and the hachra in the Mishnah Berurah is as follows: that by mitzvahs the rabbanon, if you did the mitzvah, let's say achilas mara b'zman hazeh is the rabbanon. So if you ate the mara and you weren't mechaven for the mara, you weren't mechaven, so you're yoytze b'di'evet because it's a mitzvah the rabbanon, b'di'evet kavanah is not ma'akiv. But by a mitzvah d'oraisa, kavanah is ma'akiv, and therefore, if a person did if the person did a mitzvah d'oraisa and did not have kavanah to be yoytze the mitzvah, then you got to redo the mitzvah, which puts us all in a very tight position. When you hear this, how often does a person? Very often, a person goes ahead and does a mitzvah d'oraisa, and they didn't think about it. They forgot to think. Right? That's what happens all the time. You took the lulav and you forgot to think to be yoytze the mitzvah. You did it by rote, especially. Sometimes you're under pressure and you do a mitzvah and you didn't think to be yoytze the mitzvah. Are you yoytze the mitzvah or not? So there is a chaya adam that mamish is a lifesaver for the whole, for most of Klal Yisrael, except for if you're the tzaddik hador or very, very aware people that have their head screwed on 24/7. So they're always thinking, okay, I'm doing a mitzvah kavanah. Sometimes regular people, forget to have kavanah to be yoytze the mitzvah, even by a mitzvah d'oraisa. So Zok the Chaya Adam as follows. It's truly a very useful knowledge, this Chaya Adam, and I want to try to maybe put a little limitation on the Chaya Adam. Chaya Adam says if you're doing a mitzvah and it's obvious from what you're doing that what you're doing is a mitzvah, who picks up a lulav and an esrig without doing a mitzvah? So obviously, if you're picking up dalet minim on sukkahs, and not only that, but you're making a bracha on the tilas lulav, so even if you weren't thinking, but that alone is kavanah. The kavanah happens by autopilot, it happens by itself. And this Chaya Adam, it works for many, many mitzvahs. Where you're going ahead and you're eating matzah, you take a big piece of matzah and you say al achilas matzah and you're eating it. So obviously you have kavanah. What then are you doing if not the mitzvah of achilas matzah? What I want to point out is as follows. If a person makes kiddush and he doesn't think that he's being yoytze the mitzvah of dalet kaisis, okay? Or if a person goes ahead and he says Dar Goda because that's what the Zayda did, that's what his father did, and that's what every lady and kid that's doing by the table is saying Dar Goda. Are you thinking about the mitzvah of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim? Many people, Amaratzim, don't even know that it exists, the mitzvah of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, and they say the whole Agoda. They say Manishtam, they say Avodah Mayinu. So this person, who said that person has the Chaya Adam's tool? Who said that person has the auto kavanah? Maybe that person is just doing a minik ta'iv. Who said that it's built in that he's yoytze the mitzvah with memela dika kavanah? And therefore, I would be matzia, and I don't know, I may be wrong, and I'm not saying kablu daiti. I'm just inspiring some kind of a discussion by yourselves. That maybe by certain mitzvahs, especially the mitzvahs halayla of Pesach, where you just do certain things and you're not mechamed, so over there you have to have a special dagesh on having kavanah to be yoytze the mitzvah, and therefore a person has to keep his. You could even write it into your Haggadah. You should be mechaven. I'm being mechaven for dalet kaisis. Hasidim, I think, say it. They say Areini Muchan Mezum L'Kayim. It's a kais rishon, and they say before the recitations before they do any act on Pesach by night. But if you don't do it, Akaponim, you should have kavanas mitzvah, and for sure you should think to yourself or say to yourself, I'm being mechaven to be mekayim the mitzvah hasei l'saper b'nisim and the flies to be mesaper sipur yetzias mitzrayim leil tesvav. That is definitely the way to go, because it's not so pashut that you should have the heter of the Chaya Adam that there's memela dika kavanah. Regarding the shiurim of leil, there's a lot of confusion. Some people eat many matzahs and a lot of maror and all types of things. There's a lot of confusion about what the proper share for the kizaysim are, and sometimes you're like kafuf to the masader aseidu, whatever he gives you. But you have to realize like this, that they're just a very short thing. There is a big question regarding Halacha Shiur. A fascinating shmooze in the Noida Yehuda, in the Sefer Tzlach, in Arabic Psachim, he brings as follows. It says over there, I'm not going to get into the complicated part of it. I'll just give you a taste of what he's saying over there. If you want, you can look yourself. The Gemara tells you that the share of challah, which is 43 bayim and a chaimish bayah, fits into a certain size keli. If you have a certain amount of fingers, by a certain amount of fingers and a certain size keli, you can fit in the share challah. Okay? So the Noida Yehuda made an experiment. He didn't trust. My Rabbi used to tell me, don't trust Rashi. Just do it, figure it out on yourself, and then see if Rashi's right. So he went ahead and he made a keli that was as big as the Gemara says fits these shir challah inside of it, and he fit it in, and it was only half full. He took 43 eggs and he put it into such a size keli, and it was only half full. So he had a big suffix. He says, what's the pshat? It's only half full. I did what the Gemara says. I put 43 eggs into this keli, and it's supposed to fit 43 the sulai, and it's only half full. So he says, either the pshat is the fingers nowadays got bigger, and therefore the keli I made is double the size. That's why it's half full. Or the eggs got smaller, and that's why it's only half full. So he says like this. He says, I don't know if the fingers got bigger or the egg got smaller, but I have a klal that we know that the dairas, as you read the sadairas, the dairas are going downhill. From other Mauritian till now, it's going down, down, down. So it can't be that people are getting bigger than they used to be. So it must be that the eggs are getting smaller, and the eggs got so small that they're only half of what they used to be. And therefore, the Noid Yehuda paskins la halacha that every shear that we have, which is based on eggs and olives, is only, you have to double the shear. If it says a kazayis, you take 2 kazayis. And if it says kaveh, you have to take 2 bayis of our days. And therefore, and the Chazon Ish said this was neskabel halacha, that you have to go follow the tzlach, and you always have to double the shear. Shear kazayis is a double shear kazayis. Now, our Gedolim Manenu, I'm quoting Rabbi Shmuel Kamenetsky, Lahavim L'chaim L'chaim, Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, they say that for mitzvahs d'oraisa, we should be makbid on the tzlach. But for a mitzvah d'rabbanan, it's okay if you're not makbid on the tzlach. And therefore the shiurim come out, just the basic, I'll just give you a basic thing. If you want to look in the Sfarim, Rabbi David Feinstein has very geschmack in his. There's an English Haggadah called Haggadah's Kol Doidi, written by Rabbi David Feinstein Shlita, and there's a Kabbai from Kamenetsky say for Kovetz Halachas. All the shiurim exact, a lot of stuff. There's a lot of charts that they have, but just a basic thing. Rabbi Shmuel says that for kaisis, which is also built on beitza, kachir beitza. So for a kais, you should like dalit kaisis, it's the rabbanon de kais. You should be 4 ounces, and that's the right amount. That's good enough, and that's a shir revius for a rabbanon de kais, which is it's a chumrah what he's saying, but this is what he says: 4 ounces, and for a deraisa de kashir, which is like this year, a deraisa is like the first kais is kiddush, which is Friday night. So Friday night kiddush is deraisa. So the drinking is not mamish deraisa, but you're dealing with a deraisa. The first kais of kiddush, it should be like carved to 6 ounces. So it's 4 ounces the rabbanon, 6 ounces for deraisa, and that's the shear of liquids. As far as the shear kazayas of matzah, so nobody says that you have to eat more than a half of matzah for the first kazayas. It's a question, depending on the thickness of your matzahs, between a third of a matzah and a half a matzah, and that's more than that, you don't have to do it. And for kairech, or really both nights, the first kazayas should be about between a third and a half a matzah. And for kairech and for afikayimin, you could eat much less than that. You could eat a quarter of a matzah or a little more. You don't have to eat a full third of a matzah, the full share of the rest.
How come the Chavetz Chaim used to measure with his palm of his hand?
So I saw a picture rather of Reb Chaim Kanievsky, one of the matzah companies, Kilas Yaakov or something, and he says that the Chazon Ish used to measure with I never heard this about the palm of his hand, but Chazon Ish used to measure without the thumb, the whole palm, with the 4 fingers. And that was the shear deraisa, which is less than a half a matzah, actually.
Like this.
It could be it's less. I'm just quoting Reb Shmuel. I like to take one guy, but yeah, Chazon Ish Taka went with less than that. You have to know the size of the hands. Always there's a fascinating, funny exchange brought in Shulchan Aruch. And one of the nice Kalim brings down in Hilchos Challah that there was the Tshuva Ma'ava was a Talmud of the Noid Yehuda, and he says, you Noid Yehuda, you tzlach say that the shiurim got so much smaller. Noid Yehuda was huge. Noid Yehuda was like double the size of a regular guy. So he says that's because Rabbeinu is measuring with his own body. It says the Noid Yehuda was sachak and he made a movement and bittul, but he enjoyed the criticism. But he held by his shita. But so you always have to know the hands. But Chazon Ish wasn't massive. And he used to measure with this stuff. Yeah. Okay. Now regarding Hilchos Cholamoid is it's meant to be a yom of simcha, a yom of simcha and of leichkeit and of really enjoying, and that's why it was given. And it was given as a day that you could elasek b'Torah mitoich simcha and achilu shtiya and enjoyment of the day. Nevertheless, we find like a certain seriousness about Chol Hamoed that you don't find about too many other things. In Chazal it says, "Hamavaze es hamoyados ein lo chelik olam haba." Somebody who's mavaze Chol Hamoed is ein lo chelik olam haba. Different Chazal it says, "Ki'ilu oiver avodah zarah." It's like you don't even find such a thing of regarding more heilige days, of what we consider more heilige days. You don't find such a sprach. You don't find such language like you find in Chol Hamoed. Now, what does it mean? Hamavaze es hamoyados ein lo chelik olam haba. It's a Mishnah in Obvious, if I'm not mistaken. What does it mean? Hamavaze es hamoyados ein lo chelik olam haba. It means you mavaze. It means you give a kick to Chol Hamoed. You say mavaze. You do a bizu. You say I hate Chol Hamoed. Is that what it means when you say mavaze es hamoyados? So Rashi says hamavaze es hamoyados ein lo chelik olam haba ha'oisa malacha b'Chol Hamoed. Somebody who does forbidden malacha on Chol Hamoed is a mavaze es hamoyados and such a severe einish. Now I'm not here to touch up on a hashkafadika level in any sort what the pshat is. It's something that needs a big hesber. Why Chol Hamoed is such a chomadika thing, but what we see over here is that we have to shtel zachab what's mutter and what's aser, and how to hold back from doing malacha and living a normal Chol Hamoed day, and that balance is so severe. It's such a chomadika thing. A lot of times I think that without knowing from Sforim exactly what the hashkafa of Chol Hamoed is, but it could be that a person is supposed to steig from Yontiv. Rav Hutli used to say a person is supposed to gain, supposed to come out of a Yontiv. He's supposed to steig. He's supposed to come out with a he's supposed to have grown from the Yontiv. So Chol Hamoed is a time that before you get plunked down into the real world, and it could be lost what you gained from Chol Hamoed. So it's like a shtickle Yontiv to be able to acclimate what you gained from the Yontiv into real life. As Yitaka could go in a car, and Yitaka could do a shtickle, what you do normally, and with the ruach of the Yontiv, and try to keep it alive through Chol Hamoed. And in that situation, so what am I supposed to, number one, what am I supposed to wear on Chol Hamoed? Do you have to wear big day Shabbos? Some people are wearing ties, some people are wearing suits, some people are wearing regular weekday clothing. What's the proper thing? So the Mishnah Brura in the beginning of Hilchos Chol Hamoed, it's kedai to zechariah a little bit of Chol Hamoed. The beginning is not even so complicated at all. It's right in the beginning of Chelik Vav. And of Mishabura, and the Chavetz Chaim has a long arichas in the Sharat Tzion. Do you have to wear big day Shabbos because it is a Mikra Kodesh? It is a holy day. So what do I have to wear on Chol Hamoed? Mishabura says you do not have to wear big day Shabbos. It's not obligatory. It's nice to wear maybe big day Shabbos, but you do not have to wear. What you should wear is begadim sheyoser toivim mishel choil. Let's say a person wears a certain level of begadim in the choil, he should up it a little bit. It should look a little more festive on Chol Hamoed. There was once a guy, he asked me in the yeshiva where I say a shir, he said he's embarrassed to wear nice clothing on Chol Hamoed. His family doesn't do it. So I said, do you have a nice belt? Do you have like a Shabbos yarmulke? Do you have some kind of a nice thing if you wear a jacket and you usually want to wear a jacket? Yeah. So you should make one baguette. Something should be nicer, should be a little more festive. If you want to wear a different type of shirt, a different type of baguette, or even wear a suit, that would be being mechabed Chol Hamoed, even though you're not taking it to the total degree of wearing big day Shabbos. Now, the emes, I'm going to put down. We don't have a lot of time, but we'll try to. If you have questions, I'm happy to hear them. But to put down the basic malacha of Chol Hamoed, like what's aser and what's mutter. So the emes, because they don't want you to strain on Chol Hamoed, it's a question if it's Chazal or if it's Dairaisa. We're not going to get into if Melechas Chol Hamoed is Dairaisa or Darabban. It's an unresolved machlokes lahalacha. But what you should do is the emes lamed tes malachas are aser on Chol Hamoed. That's how you have to view it. Everything that's aser on Shabbos and Yom Tov is aser on Chol Hamoed.
You can't drive.
You can't drive a car. You can't light a match. Yeah, I'm not giving anything about maybe a person is. Are you allowed to smoke ever? But are you allowed to smoke on Yom Tov? You're not allowed to smoke on Yom Tov. That same severity, that same chayim, you should wonder about Chol Hamoed. Are you allowed to do it on Chol Hamoed? Because Chol Hamoed is aser and malachas. Nevertheless, there are certain heterim that they said in these situations you could cross off the Issa Malacha. And that is the first one and the most notable and the most used is L'tzayrich HaMoyed, you're allowed to do Malacha. Anything that Chol Hamoed needs, that you need for Chol Hamoed or for Yom Tov, you need to drive to Shul on Chol Hamoed, so that's a tzarech hamoed. You need to drive to certain entertainment.
You don't actually need to. You could actually you could walk to shul.
So we define a want as a need for Chol Hamoed. If you want it, a legitimate want, and you want it, you're not doing it for nothing. It means, let's say you want a certain place to say, I'm not saying this is so pashut, but let's just to bring it out. The person wants to delete his messages on Chol Hamoed. That's not tzarech hamoed. You're not going to run out of space anytime on Chol Hamoed. So it's not. That's malacha shaloi l'tzarech hamoed. But if you want to drive to have ice cream with somebody,
but he wants to.
You want to just drive for no reason.
But he wants to. He enjoys driving. He enjoys the leading message. He likes a clean answering machine.
He likes a clean answering machine.
Yeah. Once you start saying that likes are like needs, and it's like there's no line.
If it bothers you, I'll tell you interesting shmoots. You know, there's a question. So you know what? Klisha malachta laheter. Let's say a fork on the table. You want to move it, right? So you allowed to move it for usage, right? Let's say you have a klisha malachta laheter. You want to move shaloi l'tzarech klal on Shabbos, yeah? Not a fork on the table, a napkin. You want to flip over your napkin for no reason, right? It's a question.
That is a reason. The fact that you want to flip it is a reason.
The question if you're allowed to do shaloi l'tzarech klal, could be you're not allowed to do both. Okay? So frekta or chashulchan, where's there such a thing shaloi l'tzarech klal? If the guy's doing it, obviously he has a reason to do it. He's doing it because he has a nervous twitch someplace that this is the output of his nervous whatever. So let him. That's his tzarech. Nevertheless, I think that you could say that there's certain things that shaloi l'tzarech klal. You want to order a taxi for after yontiv so that you could go to the airport. That's shaloi l'tzarech klal. Yeah,
but it's to make him enjoy yontiv a lot more, knowing that his taxi is already ordered.
You can't abuse the system. If a person has a high anxiety, and when he has messages on his machine, or when he has no taxi ordered, then he casts a pall on his whole yom. Maybe he has to know. You have to have a rub that knows. Every person has to have a rub that knows him well.
But how much you charge?
It has to. You have to honestly be able to say that this is a tzarech hamoed. I can't just live in it. Can't live like this.
That's be a crazy. You don't need it.
You can't be crazy because if you can be crazy, you know, sometimes you see, you know, there's a yeshiva that I go on Chol Hamoed rather, that they have paper towels you can rip off, and then they have paper towel. They have like you know where it's like you go in a bathroom in the yeshiva. You could use the paper towel and save the yeshiva money, or you could use tissues and it costs the yeshiva more money. So you're going to go overhead and say, I should use I should. Well, are you allowed to do it? Is that considered a tzarech hamoed? You have to start going into these nitty gritty cheshbonis to say that it's a.
So what's considered malacha or not? The tissue is considered malacha.
Yeah, you're pulling off a tissue. That's a malacha. If you're ripping off a tissue or a paper towel, that's malacha. Yeah, Lamashal, you have a paper towel. You have paper towels. And what?
Everything is by line.
So you need it tzarech hamoed. So you can't. So what I'm saying is that what I meant to say is like this. That if there's you're going to go meshuggah, you're going to go berserk if you start making cheshbonis like this, then that's a tzarech hamoed that you shouldn't have to make such darkistic cheshbonis. Okay, this place can say this. But if you have a reason why you're doing something and it's totally for nothing, yeah, the guy told me he orders taxis to go to the airport. He goes Matzi Yontiv, he's going to the airport. So he's going to order his Uber taxi on Chol Hamoed. That's Aser Gomer, because unless a guy is anxious that he's getting Meshiga on Yontiv because he doesn't whatever. But if a person's doing it, what?
If you go crazy and you're losing money in your job or you're starting,
I heard now
it has to be that it's a tzarech hamoed. There's no such a dispensation. It could be if you're going to go meshuggah, then that would be a different head of lover. Always maybe you can have different head. But usually if a person of sound psychological situation, then you don't it's not a tzarech hamoed to do things that are shaloi tzarech hamoed. That's the
What if I wants to download music on his computer?
Yeah.
So you need it for after Yom Tov because I wanted to say that's to the tzarech.
That's shaloi tzarech hamoed. 100%. Now there are. I will say as follows.
He's going to do all the CDs. He has 100 CDs. I just have time to I want to.
Right. So one of the big things that Chazal were worried about, Rabbi said, is we don't have time to get into all this. I'm going to be coiled this question with a lot of things. you're not allowed to shave on Chol Hamoed, you're not allowed to take a haircut on Chol Hamoed, and you're not allowed to do laundry on Chol Hamoed, and if you're Ashkenazic descent, you don't cut nails on Chol Hamoed either. Okay, unless you cut them every day. Nails if you cut every day. Why is that? Right. Good, great question. And the answer is, listen carefully. The answer is that there's a new gzeira that Chazal were concerned that since most people don't work or they're not supposed to work on Chol Hamoed, so they're going to leave everything for Chol Hamoed, all your chores and all your stuff and all your hair cutting and all your nail cutting, everything you're going to leave for Chol Hamoed because that's 4 days that you're off, especially this year. You might have a whole covered a week of nothing to do, right? So therefore, they said you're not allowed to cut your hair, you're not allowed to cut your nail, you're not allowed to cut do your laundry because you're going to come into Yontif haggard and they're worried about that also. You're going to come into Yontif and leave all your hygienic things to do on Yontif, and that's why you shouldn't do it. If you didn't, you have to do it on Erev Yontif. You can't do it on Chol Hamoed. Another thing they said is that anything that you leave for Chol Hamoed, you're not allowed to leave things to do on Chol Hamoed if it's malacha. Like you're going to say, I have to download 100 songs, I have to download the plays, I have to do this and this chore. It's an easy thing. It's something, such a thing that you're miyachid malachta v'moyed, that is abusing Chol Hamoed and you should not do it. Okay, but if it's a tzarech hamoed, you'll enjoy this music, you'll enjoy this stuff, Chol Hamoed, without doing it harama, without tricking, okay, so I'll listen to it for a minute. You can't leave things for Chol Hamoed, but if it's a tzarech hamoed, you can do it. Nevertheless, and I'm just gonna say one but on this. With tzarech hamoed, you can do malacha, but you can't do maleches ma'isa umen. You can't do something that requires skill. Now, this is quite a debatable thing. What's considered requires skill, but certain things they said are skilled items, like sewing is a skilled thing. So therefore, if you want to sew on Chol Hamoed, you got to go funny stitches. There'd be wide stitches that go up and down, weird stitches. So that's called a shinui. Or if you're writing something, you should write with a shinui. Okay, nowadays most people write electronically, but if you're going to write, you should write with a shinui, meaning that you should. Sorry.
You're allowed to text.
It is a shinui.
Texting is fine, but you can't text. Meet me after Yontif. You got to text to Yontif. Yeah, Tzarech Hamoed, meet me. Let's.
If you're gonna start thinking like that, it's making you Chol Hamoed.
Yeah, okay. I will tell you, I'm not going to hide it. That there are poskim that hold that if something involves zero tircha, like sending a text type of thing, it involves zero tircha. There are those poskim that say that that's mutter b'chalal Chol Hamoed. Our poskim say that it's unresolved if that's the halacha. But so we don't easily follow it. But you could ask a shayla, something, or if something's making you meshuga, you would be allowed to be soymach on that. But something that involves absolutely no tircha is a question. If it's and also if something involves no malacha, but it is a tircha, that's also a question. Let's say somebody wants to move from one house to another house. It's a huge tircha, but there's no malacha involved. So that's also a question. These kind of things are questions. Tircha v'lay malacha, malacha v'lay tircha is a question. But I just want to finish by saying that malacha l'tzarech hamoed is mutter l'tzarech hamoed, but if there's a ma'isa umen, so if you're writing, what you should do is you should write the first line of the letter, the first line of the whatever you're writing on a slant, or the whole thing you should write. The whole paper should be on a slant and write it. The Alta Yiddinis, they wrote. My grandmother used to write letters every week to her daughter living in Europe. And you could tell which letters were written on Chol Hamoed. They used to write like this. They used to hold it. They saw like a diamond shape. They used to write Azoi. That's how they wrote on Chol Hamoed, because it was a shinoi in ksiva. So there's such a thing of writing with a shinoi. But chedushay Torah, if you want to write what you learn, or if you want kibalti me'avi moiri zatzal, if you want to write, let's say the way you learn. There was a kufa that the way I learned was if I wanted to learn a taisvis, I didn't have a chavrusa. I used to write the taisvis. That's how I used to understand the taisvis. I used to write over the kasha tais, write over the teretz tais. It's something I'll never look at again in my life, but that's how I learned. That would be mutter, because that's called a davar ha'aved. If you're going to have a huge loss, I'm not going to be able to learn, or I'm going to lose that chiddush, that kasha that I thought of. So you're mutter to do even a ma'isa ummah to write it kederach without any shina.
Does that apply to money?
What was that?
Does that apply to money?
Is that
Does it apply to money that you're going to be a big loss?
It applies to money, yes. It applies to money, most notably to money. That's where the halacha was said that if you're going to lose money, let's say a person. Now, this is the heta that people have to go to work, but it should be with a kvetch. If you have to go to work, it should be with a it's be'etzim potentially a mavaz samoyedes, but you have had to. So if a person is allowed to work, if they're going to have a huge loss of money, not a non-gain of money. Let's say a guy goes fishing for deals or for customers or for stocks. He's looking to buy things. You're not allowed to work a chol hamoed. But if you're going to lose your reputation, you're going to lose your customers, you're going to lose money, or even if there's a sale that you need a suit. Not stam you're going to chop around a sale. You need a suit, and if you're going to get the sale, you'll save 70%. You'll save a substantial amount. But if these are included in Dover Ovid, and for a Dover Ovid, you're even allowed to do a Ma'aseh Umin. You would be able to write without a shinoi or work without any shinoi.
That works for me personally.
Oh, yeah.